Warning, I swear a lot.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our ongoing investigation into the Abnormality story records in Lobotomy Corporation. So, we've gotten some spicy ones recently, some very spicy ones, and I'm interested to see what the backstory behind them is. Obviously, we've been having issues with this game recently in terms of recording, but I think it'll hold long enough for me to read some words, yes? I hope so, we'll see. May as well start with the Queen of Hatred, she's right there. A humanoid abnormality that looks like it would go and fight villains for peace and justice at any moment. It is friendly toward every employee and is able to engage in casual conversation. It believes that it is a hero born to save the world and takes considerable pride in it. When it shows signs of anxiety or doubt while conversing with an employee, its appearance and personality will undergo an adverse change within 4 days, and it will display symptoms of dissociative disorders. The definition of good and evil are fixed in its mind. Some assume that when the abnormality's beliefs lead to a horrible doubt about the existence of evil, it will choose to become evil to negate that doubt. All parameters will return to normal after the negative phase passes, and the abnormality will have no memory of the behavior it exhibited during that phase. How very convenient. Audio log 1. Employee, how are you feeling today? Magical girl. Good. The world is at peace, and it's quiet around here. Peace is a great thing to have. It means there aren't any villains around, right? Audio log 2. You're looking a bit worn down today. Still fine, the world is peaceful, and the abnormality fell silent and did not wish to continue speaking. Omitted. Audio log 3. Employee, are you alright? Why is it still so peaceful? You see, the whole purpose of my life is to defeat villains. It's as if the world is trying to say it doesn't need me. Really, why is it still so peaceful? Oh, did I mention that I'm a magical girl? To keep the world's peace? I was born, but today, it's quiet today. The abnormality continued to murmur incomprehensible words to itself. Audio log 4. The abnormality endlessly mumbles to itself without even noticing the employee and its containment. The world can be divided into good and evil, and I'm on the side of justice. If I'm on the side of good, then someone has to be on the side of evil. Without someone to play the villain, I can't exist. Then, who is going to protect the world? Audio cuts out. Audio log 5. Level 3 or above access required. This is part of an audio record obtained during the rampage on the date of Redacted. The abnormality used a radio installed in the facility to call the emergency planning team. Continuous sobbing. Employee, this is the emergency planning team. Please identify yourself. I think I did this. I couldn't stop myself. It's my fault. I ruined everything. I betrayed the people who were kind to me. I don't remember why I did this. Could you elaborate on what happened? I don't know. They aren't moving. There's so much blood. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Omitted. 3 bodies were found in the abnormality's containment unit. The abnormality lost all memory of the incident afterward. So, identity crisis, I guess? It doesn't really explain why she's called the Queen of Hatred, though. Because hatred's not really the theme here. I mean, this could just be a translation thing, but it's not hatred that leads to the negative acts that this abnormality engages in, you know? She attacks the facility because there's no one around to be evil. There's no evil person around. She's like, well, there's got to be a good guy and a bad guy, so if I can't be the good guy because there are no bad guys, then I've got to be the bad guy to balance it out. But hatred doesn't come into it. It's strange. Aside from everything else, though, this is roughly what I expected. She just kind of has something of a complex. But it's interesting. So who do we have next? Oh, we haven't done nothing there yet, have we? I don't think we have. Oh, this is gonna be something. Okay, oh, I'm excited. Alright. Wow, this is a long one and all. An abnormality whose appearance resembles a human but cannot and should not be human. It periodically devours employees and wears their shell. The skeleton and organs are misplaced during the process, so it takes a bizarre form. The abnormality does have a tongue, however. It has no knowledge of speech, and as such cannot talk. It can only make meaningless sounds. There is no telling what is inside its shell, but its skin continuously wears down, so there is a need to change and maintain the outer layer. It is insensible to pain. It may break its own bones or cut itself up to escape through a small crevice. Bit by bit, we discovered that this abnormality may be evolving. It demonstrates behavior similar to the character of the person who used to be its shell. It even makes attempts to equate itself with human beings. When it escapes, it wears the skin of the person it killed and mimics them. Then, without any sign or forewarning, it reveals its true/second form. In its true/second form, its resemblance is much similar to that of humanity in comparison to its earlier form. The new form is confirmed to possess bipedalism, properly aligned organs, and the addition of greater physical strength. All the employees are afraid of this form, probably due to the long-range psychic powers that cause people to explode. A warning of something. If it has been confirmed that it has escaped and stood on 2 feet, there is only one thing you can do. Straighten up your posture, gather your hands neatly, and pray to whatever you believe in, and observe the situation as it unfolds. That's accurate. Just like how we observe abnormalities as employees, nothing there observes us. Then it puts on the shell of an employee and thinks of itself as the employee that just died. The sight of that thing eating one of us is horrifying beyond words. Just trying to think about it might drive me mad. Heading to its containment to check the state of its shell is a toll on your mind too. Imagine that a colleague of yours who you chatted with just a few days ago is now sitting in that room, neck snapped, guts exposed, walking on all fours, drooling like a beast. Omitted. That's not all. When I was still a new employee, no one else was willing to enter its containment unit, so I was forced to go work with it. Send a new employee. It looked even worse than it does now. It was in the shape of a horribly deformed human. What's worse, it tried to mimic humans, doing stuff like looking into a mirror, mumbling to itself, or trying to fix its skeletal structure. It's as if it was trying to mimic us. Who knows, it might get good enough to casually walk among us one day. Warning, only employees level 3 and higher are permitted to read this document. This recording is of a call from the containment unit's emergency phone. Phone systems are installed in every room of abnormalities of risk level HE or higher to enable quick threat response. Employee 1, please pick up, please pick up. This is the containment unit of Nothing There. Emergency Response Department, ERD. Hello, this is the emergency response team. What's the problem? I need a stun gun right now. There's an emergency happening right now. Can you please specify the reason? The abnormality. The sounds of something breaking can be heard. It's ripping up the employee. Excuse me? It's killing my colleague. We'll respond immediately. Please identify the employee being attacked. It's, wait one sec. Their name's Redacted, Control Team. I'm Redacted, also Control Team. Confirmed. What's currently happening to your colleague at this exact moment? Yeah, just please hurry. We need a weapon to control the abnormality. A loud noise can be heard, presumably the scream of the colleague. Oh god, this is... What's happening? The abnormality is attacking my colleague. It's literally ripping them apart. I can't do anything. I repeat, we need a weapon to control the abnormality. The emergency response team has been dispatched. They'll arrive shortly. Omitted. Redacted. What's happening now? Is it still attacking your colleague? Yeah, oh no, I think it's done now. Has it stopped attacking? No, I mean, my colleague, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead, alright. How can you be so sure? Well, it's because he looks... Has he been ripped up somehow? What body parts are damaged? All of them. Huh. Yeah. Except from counseling log. Just like how we observe abnormality... Is this the same thing? Oh no, it is slightly different, begging your pardon. Just like how we observe abnormalities as employees, Nothing There observes us. Then it puts on the shell of an employee and thinks of itself as the employee that just died. It mimics the employee's usual behavior, the way they talk, likes and dislikes, and every other visible trait. We can only guess how carefully and for how long it has been observing the employees to imitate them. What I'm trying to say is, we can't just treat it like some dumb, scary monster. Even now it could be strolling about wearing the shell of someone we know. This abnormality is becoming more and more like a human. Its transformation is getting faster too. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. If the time comes when we fail to recognize it, that will be the day the company falls. We must stay ever vigilant when dealing with this abnormality. The following is a recording of the abnormal behavior an employee exhibited in their last moments after they became a shell of Nothing There. Manager. Man, you've been looking for the manager for quite a while now. You've been acting really weird today, you know, with that smile and all. Anyway, I sure hope we get pasta in the cafeteria for dinner today. I'd love some of that with thick bacon. Oh, we just got an emergency notice. It says the last employee to work with Nothing There should get to the counselor's office immediately. Wait, wasn't that you? Hey, say something. Manager. The second employee proceeded to take immediate action upon hearing that. However, Nothing There tore out of the shell of the first employee, revealing its beginning form. The recording only includes audio files, so what exactly happened or what kind of behavior the employee exhibited still remains a mystery. The shell with Nothing There inside tries its best to mimic the behavior of the employee it tried to kill moments ago. The actions of the last employee it eyed, their final words, those sorts of things. And the many shells cried out one word. Manager. I love Nothing There. Nothing There is such a fantastic abnormality because, as they kind of described it, it is a horror movie monster. It is a hardcore horror movie monster. And it's obviously a reference to The Thing as well, you know, the old film The Thing, where it mimics the appearance of things and infiltrates a group of people and picks them off one by one and stuff like that. Like, there's references there, but I feel like Nothing There really takes on its own identity. It's not just a reference to the thing. Nothing there is something so much more horrifying. And I love small details like how its picture is not a picture. It just says, do not open this, redacted. Amazing. Everything about Nothing There is such a slam dunk in terms of an abnormality design. It is terrifying, it is horrifically powerful, its voice lines are unsettling. The moment when you send an employee in when it's wearing someone's shell and the screen gets covered up and then you get, all you see and all you hear is just a crosshair, the sound of a gun cocking, and a timer telling you you have 10 seconds to find it and shoot it before it breaks out is fantastic. 10 out of 10. I love Nothing There. Such a good abnormality, and its equipment is insanely good. That shit is insanely good. Absolutely incredible. Let's find the next one. I do believe it's Snow White's apple. Getting back to the fairy tale ones, it's been a while. When the prince kissed the princess, she coughed up the bits of apple stuck in her throat. The dwarfs cried out in happiness. Snow White and the prince walked through a flower-covered path and headed to their kingdom. Everybody lived Everyone lived happily ever after. Then there was the apple created from the witch's wrath and curse. It was also a part of herself. The apple that dropped from Snow White's hand after a single bite could never be happy. The apple, full of loneliness and hatred toward the princess, waited for the day it would rot away and return to the earth. Was it the enchantment, or was it the wrath which was bending the laws of nature? Even after enough time had passed for it to rot and allow its seed to bear fruit, the apple did not rot. In the meantime, one half of it was kicked and crushed by someone's foot. The other half was filled with holes, eaten away by the likes of birds and bugs. The carcasses of birds and bugs piled up near the apple. The apple pondered about its existence in the midst of the corpses rotting around it. One day, a branch grew from it. The leaves and branches were already withered and dry, but it continued to grow. Finally, one afternoon, the apple gained the ability to move on its own. It thought of the princess and the prince who left happily. Snow White had also been sleeping for a long time, but a prince came and woke her up. The apple, now a princess in its own right, no longer needed a prince. She began to embark on a journey. Excerpt from the hidden stories and fairy tales no one knew, author unknown. That's an interesting twist, actually. It's literally Snow White's apple. I thought it was just a name. You should never you should never disregard anything you read in these games. I get that now, but still, I saw the name and figured it was just a name. This is literally Snow White's apple. Once you bit into the poisoned apple that caused her to fall asleep, this is that thing gained sentience and its own will and its own life. It explains why it's so violent, I suppose, and why it's so eager to break out and fuck things up. Snow White's apple is definitely not the most dangerous abnormality on our roster, but it is very disruptive, and it takes a while to kill, and you just don't want it getting out. You just do not want it getting out. You want someone who is exceptionally good at repression work, and you want to keep this stupid thing contained. Its weapon is quite good, I must say. Very good weapon. I haven't been able to combine its ego gift with someone using the weapon yet. I think that would lead to something really effective. Plus, the extra plus 6 SP is really handy, but interesting. Obviously not the most significant abnormality amongst our list, but still interesting. That was more interesting than I expected it to be. We haven't checked out Big and Will Be Bad Wolf. I'm looking forward to this one. I imagine if I got more information on quote-unquote Little Red Riding Hood, this might fill out a bit more. An abnormality in the shape of a wolf with sparsely damaged fur. It is bipedal and it is capable of communication to some extent. It always attempts to devour employees or breach. Such actions are easily preventable since it shows obvious signs in behavior and conversation before doing so, making this abnormality fairly easy to manage. The incident on the day of Redacted was an alerting event for many employees. The moment Red Riding Hood ran into the wolf, the situation spiraled out of control. Prevent the two meeting from at all costs. I didn't say that right, but fuck it. Considering the potential damage it may cause, it could be a wise decision to sacrifice a few employees to divert their attention away from each other. He had flesh for the first time in a long while, and its taste was so good. In the corner of his eye, a familiar piece of red cloth stood out from the wardrobe. He may or may not have seen it before, but he didn't really care about it. Since then, it got harder and harder to keep himself in check. Still, it didn't matter to him. After all, he was destined to be a big bad wolf. There may be lots of stories here, but no story is as disgusting as the wolf's role. It was a sin to be born as a wolf. No one cared about a wolf's name. It has to be called the Big Bad Wolf. All wolves are raised to become giant, ferocious, and hairy monsters. Wolves could not eat other animals even if they were starving. Wolves could not cross the line when doing bad things, and wolves had to be punished. Wolves always needed to be an example. Wolves could not make friends with anyone, omitted. So there's definitely more here that I haven't got because I didn't get to complete Riding Hood's abnormality records. Because when she showed up, this is spoilers for my series, by the way, I think on part 11. Yeah, these two fought, and there was a lot of collateral damage. Plus, for those of you who are in the know, I had these two in my welfare department right next to each other, same corridor. So they were going to break out constantly, all the time. And I had to memory poke because that was just too much. It was too much strain on the facility. We'd lose too many people. And trying to do like core suppressions and stuff with this and Riding Hood duking it out all the time, it wasn't going to happen. It was practically impossible. I'd like to get more information on him if I could. Crumbling armor, hell yeah. I love me some samurai. An armor that seems to have been used hundreds of years ago. An engraving on its bottom states, "Life is only granted to those who hold no fear of death." Obviously, putting this armor on is forbidden by the company regulations. Note, there have been rumors of employees pretending to put the armor on for fun. Please look into this immediately. The armor was secured from a museum. The information below is the fragments of its legend. This armor once belonged to General Redacted, who joined the War of Redacted during the year of Redacted. It was a family heirloom passed down through many generations. The general always wore this armor to keep himself protected. By a stroke of bad luck, however, an arrow flew into a gap in the armor, killing him instantly. Somehow, the armor was undamaged. After the death of General Redacted, the armor was presented to Commander Redacted of Battalion 0. The commander was always seen steel-clad each time he set out into battle. During one of his battles, the commander fell from his horse while fleeing from the enemy and died due to a fatal injury upon his skull. Still, the armor once again remained undamaged. There are many others throughout this armor's history who have had their hands on it, and each and every one of them has died in battle. Meanwhile, the armor has still kept its pristine condition. Over the years, the armor made its way to a warrior named Redacted. He was known for simply keeping the armor in storage, not wearing it for a single battle. Eventually, Redacted died of old age after participating in dozens of wars without sustaining a single injury. During his lifetime, the armor's right arm became damaged, but there was no sign of exterior impact. Redacted's family later donated the armor to a museum. After running a few tests on the armor, we have come up with the following conclusions. If this armor is worn by a cowardly employee, their chances of fatal injury and death are drastically increased. Inversely, when an employee who holds no fear of death wears it, their chances of injury and death are exceedingly decreased. One of our personnel managers suggested an entrance test where interviewees wear the armor and walk around in it for 10 minutes. This suggestion was immediately shot down, because everyone's scared of death, so everyone would just die. Interesting, because of course, the world of Lobotomy Corporation does not mirror our own. So, my initial assumption would be that this would have been an armor worn by someone during like the Sengoku Jidai or something, but it occurs to me that in this universe, Japan might not even exist. The Sengoku Jidai might not even have been a thing. And they can, as a result, they can take as many liberties with this idea as they want, especially when it comes to its history and who wore it and where it was worn and at what time and everything. And when you add to that, like, yeah, let's just fucking blank out the dates and names, they can literally do whatever they want with it. I like crumbling armor. I kind of wish there's a little more to it, but that might just be my bias because of how much I love samurai. We've done Judgment Bird. We haven't done the Little Prince. Pretty sure. I think so. I don't remember. Oh, it's quite a long one. Oh, it's quite a long one. Oh. Among the employees, it was originally referred to as the giant mushroom chunk. It does appear to be a gigantic mushroom, and it bears some semblance to mold as well. Overall, its appearance closely resembles fungi. It continuously releases spores into the air, visible to the naked eye. A majority of our employees are not fond of this abnormality. Few are broad-minded enough to favor working with some giant mushroom that fills up half a containment unit, spewing out unknown spores. They have dozens of other things to worry about, including other abnormalities to work with. As so few of our employees willingly volunteered to work with it, we could only record the most bare-bones information. Originally, we utilized a shift system to designate what abnormalities our staff were to work with. However, after the Magical Girl incident a few years ago, we began to give consideration to the opinions of our employees when assigning work. I was not expecting a reference to Magical Girl, that's interesting. The abnormality produces motile, microscopic airborne spores. They mostly proliferate by invading other organisms through their respiratory systems. It is difficult to notice the initial symptoms from this invasion because the only sensations are a light dyspnea, and dry sandy throat. Thus, it is mandatory to wear a mask when working with this abnormality. When an employee inhales enough spores, bizarre cysts will begin to grow on their body and tissues will be eroded. Ultimately, they will become a dysmorphic creature whose original form is hardly noticeable. They will show hostility in this state, so they must be terminated on sight. Excerpt from counseling log, employee John. There was this one guy who was awfully quiet. He was that guy who'd glance sideways at us like some kind of fox, as if he was expecting us to talk to him. One peculiar thing about him was that he would volunteer to work on the mushroom chunk, an abnormality everyone loathed to visit. It was also disturbing that he would spend an unusually long time in its containment unit. Who knows what kind of monstrosity might have grown on his body. When we decided to call the abnormality the giant mushroom chunk among ourselves, that guy spoke up for the first time, saying he's the one who's seen it the most. He talked a lot of nonsense, like how it didn't deserve to be called a mushroom chunk. Everyone laughed at him. We finally decided he had gone bonkers when he started saying stuff about how he became friends with the damn thing. I mean, it's a common enough thing around here, lots of stuff happens. One person going insane isn't a big deal. We tried to give him a couple hints to take a psychiatric test, but he just gave us this condescending look like he knew something we didn't. A few days later, he kicked the bucket, as we all know. Did I mention that it was me who recognized him in that spore mold creature's carcass? The birthmark on his forehead. If we hadn't found that birthmark on that lump of spores, we'd have never guessed it was him. No one actually knew he had a birthmark except me, since, no one in the department was friends with him. After becoming that monster, he just wandered around near the mushroom's containment unit. We tried to lure him somewhere less crowded, because he was attacking everything in sight, but he wouldn't move more than 10 meters away from the chunk until he died. This is why we decided to rename the abnormality. Complex reasons, like pity for the guy who became friends with a mushroom of all things, and the remembrance of his tragic death. To tell you the truth, he needed a friend. That's why he let himself get infected, going crazy in his hallucinations, not knowing that he was turning into a monster. The mushroom, it tamed the poor bastard simply to reproduce. It got Alex, whose name wasn't known by anyone. Employee Alex's notes. The human mind is too fragile to visualize something in its truest form. Did you know that mantis shrimp can see hundreds of colors that humans cannot? That simple fact is enough of an example to illustrate my point, but it's detrimental to believe and judge everything by relying solely on what you see. I don't actually have many friends. Don't misunderstand me now, I don't want to make a friend. I choose not to make friends. It's not that I can't, it is because we don't understand each other. A person thinks of himself as a completely isolated entity, making it impossible to fully understand others. But ironically, an inherent instinct of mob psychology has survived over the course of our evolution. We repeatedly play a game of Risk, walking a tightrope, vainly trying to understand each other while staying out of our territories. In fact, I was long done with this pointless game. I volunteered to observe the giant mushroom for a similar cause. No one wanted to get close to that abnormality. It must be because of some petty reasons, such as how it looks disgusting to their eyes. The fact that its appearance was slightly alien wasn't going to stop me. In fact, I actually felt a bit superior when everyone seemed surprised when I said I would work with it. Omitted. The abnormality didn't show any notable activity. I recorded and observed the silence of patience. One day, after it spread powders of enchanting colors, I experienced a special change. I could perceive hyper-reality, a plane higher than reality. This was a hand he gave to me. I took it and was rewarded with the invitation to such a special place. It was something only I could achieve. He talked to me telepathically. He welcomed me because I was the only one who could realize his essence. I had been imagining, yearning for the moment to converse through my mind, to be completely understood. The feeling of unification. It was so exhilarating I could barely hide my joy. Omitted. I wanted to get closer to him. I wanted to be a part of him. I always thought of him. I wanted to belong to him and to understand his world, like a flower bud about to bloom. My mind was pervaded. I was being tamed, little by little. Excerpt of an audio record. This is a part of the footage caught by a surveillance camera in the containment unit. As the abnormality spores completely obscured the visual feed, only the audio could be extracted. Judging from the content of the recorded conversation, we deemed it safe to assume that the abnormality spores contain hallucinatory agents. Because even after a thorough analysis of the audio record, no voice other than the employees could be detected. The employee, infected by the spores, suffered a severe state of frenzy before being shot down by another employee on the spot. No, I don't have any friends. Like I said before, I'm not fond of such contradictory relationships. At the very least, I think you could be my friend. The human language is too simple to illustrate this relationship, but I think we could settle on friend. Yes, I am your one and only friend. I shall accept you. My life has been changed ever since I met you. I had been living my whole life feeling depressed, without a sense of purpose, without talking to anyone, just working all day. but you redeemed me, a person who abandoned oneself. Just like how I could perceive your true essence, you saw through mine. It is a truly rapturous experience. I'd like to understand you. I'd like to become a being like you and love you. I was born human, lived a tedious life, and might have kept doing so had it not been for you. I was so happy that I met you. Please remember me. Please remember the nameless flower that bloomed just for you. Even if this turns to be a curse, I will love this curse like a blessing. I will think about you to the day my mind collapses and crumbles. I will close my eyes, thinking only of my soul friend who came from the faraway universe. Afterward, a faint sound of air leaking from the abnormality could be heard before all fell silent. Interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that. I mean, like, there's not a lot of room for conjecture or theory there. That is just bare bones what the situation is. It got into his mind, it tamed him, he became its thrall. It convinced him that, you know, he was a willing subject, as it were, which was ideal for what the little prince wanted. But I've never really had a chance to look at this picture up close, or I've never really looked at it properly and didn't realize that there was a little humanoid underneath the mushroom, which is fascinating. If you look down there, those appear to be faces as well. I love their references to Magical Girl incident. It's fascinating. It's more of a. This is definitely more of a story than a description of the abnormality, which makes it interesting to read. I believe our last one for today, we are getting through these quite quickly now, aren't we? Is the Night of Despair, because I actually managed to complete all of her stuff before mem repoing, so I've actually got all. I didn't manage to get a sword, and I think we lost the armor. I can't remember. An abnormality of despair that has gone through a repeated cycle of faith and betrayal, leaving only the emotion that is expressed through black tears. A hero of the past who used to be a guardian of justice, she dedicated her entire life to protect the king, the state, the city, and the weak. The knight had to uphold the laws of God and the pursuit of valor, chivalry, and justice. However, after a long history fraught with hardship and conflict, the knight realized in retrospect that nothing was truly upheld on her watch. The truth changed a lot of people. One who fought for good became evil upon realizing that there was no evil left in the world, Queen of Hatred. One who dreamed of a world where everyone could be happy was tinged with greed and started to devour everything. That's probably the other girl. Like them, so many things once thought to be forever, constant, faced changes and perished. Who said a knight never cries? Have you ever seen tears brought out by despair, not sadness? The endless stream of grief has turned the eye sockets into hollow husks. Inside, black diamonds sometimes fall down like ashes. The will to protect seems to remain unchanged after all this time. Even in containment, it is still obsessed with the act of protection. All that remains is the hollow pride of a weathered knight. The tenacity of the hero who cannot leave the past behind is a pitiful sight. When justice turns its back once more, several dozen blades will rove without a purpose. In shame of failing to defend once again, and in rage against the world, the swords will eventually point at those she could not protect. The knight, who wanted to redeem herself by saving others, was now dishonorably called the Knight of Despair, forgotten from the people's memory, just like the others. She's really cool. I really like her. She's really cool. I really like her design. I really like her ego equipment. I really like her story. She's just really cool. I like knights, you know, kind of like how I like samurai. I also really like knights. And I just really like the concept behind this one. I like how this is incredibly well written. I loved it. I got way into it while reading it because it's so well written. I actually really enjoyed reading this one. Almost wish it was longer. In fact, I just do wish it was longer. I just love to learn more about the Night of Despair. Fascinating. And I want to find out what the last magical girl is as well. I want to get the last one so I can see what's going on there as well. And I want that rapier. It looks so goddamn cool. White damage, fast, medium range. You could probably suppress employees with that thing if it swings fast enough. Combined with the high range, you could actually catch them as they run past, which would be really good. I'm still figuring out how I'm going to continue the series after the capture issues I've been having recently, because I don't want to just sit. I don't want to leave the series to sit and just wait for the new computer to arrive. Well, I haven't even ordered it yet. I need to get paid and then order it. I don't want to just sit and wait for that, because it's going to be a solid month before there'll be another LobCorp video, and I don't want to fall off of this. I don't want to not play it for long enough and then be like, okay, well, I can play LobCorp again now, and be like, it's been too long, I'd rather not. I want to finish it. And I want to finish it on camera, because, for those of you who don't know, because obviously not all of you, you know, record videos and shit, but there is something special about recording initial gameplay experiences. There's something special about playing a game and performing at the same time. It's a really enjoyable experience, and it's why I do it. If it wasn't, if recording Lobotomy Corporation wasn't especially enjoyable, I wouldn't fucking bother, because I'm dealing with a lot of issues trying to get it to happen, but I love doing it. It's fun, and I desperately want to do it, and I desperately want to have it on the channel. Also, you know, the success that came from it has been pretty nice, so there's that, but I'm rambling, none of this matters. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Whatever happens next time, and there will be more, and I'm hoping to get some more answers. I want to check back on, say, Big and Will Be Bad Wolf and the two magical girls and see if their story records expand a bit upon finding the corresponding abnormalities, but whether or not, well, I mean, I will find them eventually. I'm going for 100%, but when I find them, I hope I see you there. Toodles, goodbye.